Good morning, good morning, good morning. First Sky Omaha Radio, First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
Hey. But he's like, sing it with me now. In the morning.
Hey, everybody.
Camera's looking good. Mic sounds nice.
Hey.
So far, so good. Radio is dope.
Wet my beak real quick.
Say again? Oh, what's your whistle? Check one, check one, check one. Me.
Me.
All right. There it is. Good morning, good morning, good morning. What up, what up, what up? Another fresh edition of First Sky Omaha Radio, First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
All Beeee, Buddi3 Da Gawd, chat time, those listeners, radio listeners. Thanks for joining us on this Monday, September 11th, 2023.
Hey.
Interesting date today. Of course, we have to remember what happened at September 11th back in the day.
Man.
Yeah. And that date is forever cemented in your brain. When you see that, you're like, oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I remember it. I remember that day.
Yeah. We'll talk about it.
Vividly.
Want to give a shout out to Leah Keister that's in saying marvelous Monday to all. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Need those words of encouragement about this particular Monday. I'm tired.
Man.
It's a rough one. Definitely got the case of the Mondays already.
Already, huh?
Already. Pops said good morning, Paul and Buddy and all the First Sky fam. Good morning to you, Pops.
Top of the morning.
Always appreciate you getting up so early with us in the morning.
Yeah, man. Big shout out to our West Coast listeners and correspondents and guests. Had Ben Fletcher Sassy on. He was coming out of Portland. It was like, he beat the sun up.
For real, bro. And even earlier than that, man, shout out to my Hawaii listeners that are getting just the insomniacs up at 3 o'clock in the morning listening.
Man. Yeah. Are you familiar with Rob Dyrdek?
The name sounds familiar.
Rob Dyrdek, you remember Rob and Black on MTV, of course, Ridiculousness, skateboarder.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've been paying attention to social media, but he's kind of rebranded. We're learning. He rebranded himself into a kind of a Gary V type character. Like he does a lot of motivation. He does a lot of like business coaching. And one of his big things is waking up early. I think he's a part of the 4 o'clock club. He's yeah. So he said it's 3 o'clock in Hawaii. That made me think about, the cats like Rob Dyrdek who's waking up around this time religiously. Yeah. I guess the theory is waking up around this time gives you about an extra 6 months in your day. Like at the end of the year, waking up a few hours earlier gives you a little more time. If you're one of those people who feel like there's not enough time in the day, maybe try waking up a little earlier.
Yeah, of course, you might have to pay for it at the end of your life. You die early back to sleep. Mark Manor gives us a good morning from the bike lane. Good morning.
Hey.
Appreciate you. Marlon Harrison gives us a good morning, family. Appreciate you coming on, bro.
Peace.
Appreciate you coming to the Content Creators Camp on Saturday too. We had a good time.
Yeah.
On Saturday over there at the Flatwater Free Press. Over at the Elevator Building. So shout out to Flatwater Free Press and Marcy Yates over there at the Culture House for helping sponsor this that situation. So
Man,
we'll be talking about where we're gonna be at next on Wednesday for sure. So, but yeah, we have some we're having some really good conversations over there at the Content Creators Camp. Can't wait till you come out and check it out, buddy.
man, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. Man, speaking of that, T minus 1 week, 7 days. Actually, a little more than that, or a little less than that. I'll be there this Thursday, y'all. So yeah, starting the week off in Atlanta, we'll be ending the week in Omaha. So
There
yeah,
you go.
yeah.
What's
Excited,
up?
excited.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that too. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, man.
Be a good time.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. Speaking of the Culture House, maybe we'll do some broadcaster from there. Have to tap in
Oh,
with my man Marcy. Yeah,
good idea.
yeah.
That's a good idea. Mayor Sanchez in the house. Good morning. He says he is sleeping way earlier as well. I'm heading to bed about 9 and up at 4:50. That's the other thing, man. You got to
Yeah,
go to bed early if you're gonna get up that early.
yeah.
Paul Philman says, "Good morning, sunshine. Appreciate your continued efforts. I appreciate your
Hey, thank you.
continued support, bro.
Yeah,
Appreciate you.
thank you, and you continue work. I mean, prisoners need an advocate, man. Or not even prisoners, our incarcerated population.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, man. We definitely have some chat chimers, some people that have the criminal justice in mind,
Mm-hmm.
and prison reform in mind. It's kind of there's a lot of groups that are out here trying to do that, but we seem to have a lot of concentrated individuals that are down for the cause,
Yeah, man.
going for it all the
Yeah,
time.
man. Yeah.
Kimmer Snipe says, "Good morning, y'all. Good morning, Kimmer."
Hey,
Amy Holmes said, "Good morning. Appreciate you coming in this morning as well."
top of the morning. Top of the morning.
YouTube's look like it's going off. Like and subscribe if you're over there on YouTube. Let us
Yeah.
know if you're on Facebook. We gotta know if Facebook is working this morning.
Check in. How's it working? How's it
Facebook got a case of the Mondays too. We'll see.
working?
September 11th, of course, we gotta talk a little bit. We're not gonna do too much talking about it because you'll be hearing it all over everywhere today.
Man,
But I am curious, where were you when it went down? September 11th. Where were you at, buddy?
at home. I was at home getting ready for school. Man, can you believe I was in the 3rd grade when that happened?
Oh man, forgot how young you are sometimes.
Yes, sir. 3rd grade. I was the
Great.
same age as my son, basically.
Wow. And what did you think when you heard what was going on?
So I was getting ready for school and kind of heard my parents reacting to something in their room. I'm like,
Yeah,
what's going on? So I
right,
walk in there and of course I'm thinking they're watching like Armageddon or like, some movie. I'm thinking they're watching a movie, like, oh, hey, what movie is this? Where's Will Smith?
right.
And it turned out not to be a movie. And I remember just kind of then having the feeling of just like, wow, okay, like I've never seen anything like this. I can sense the devastation from my parents, and then I actually get to school. I actually still went to school that morning.
Mm.
And I get to school, and it definitely felt like I can imagine how students in the 50s felt when they had to do those nuclear drills. Had to put your hand under the desk. Actually, I think we did a nuclear drill at that time.
Y'all did stop, drop, and roll.
Yeah, we had to get under the desks, which
Wow.
I don't know what that's going to help, but there you go.
Wow. Kimber
Yeah.
Snipes in the chat said I was on my way to work listening to Todd and Tyler show. I specifically remember them go, wow. Wow. Um, I was also on my way to work. I was at Riverside. I was working at Riverside Public Utility in Southern California, and I was on my
Mm.
way to work. And the construction guys down the street from work, from the parking lot that I had to park at, were listening to the radio, and they were all stopped, and the radio was going. And I heard, I can't remember what disc jockey it was. It was a Todd and Tyler type show too,
Mm.
and they were going, "This is World War III," and they were like going all crazy about it. And it sounded, because they be clowning all the time, it sounded like they was kidding. I thought
Mm.
it was some kind of joke all the way up until when I got up to the building and got in there, and they were already like everybody had TVs out. They had rolled all these TVs out. People were standing around watching this thing, people crying. Yeah, it was like y'all walked into a scene like, man, that was real. What I
Yeah,
just
right. Right.
Yeah,
No work got done.
crazy, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and then like I said, I was working at Riverside Public Utility, so it was a government building. So then um got real scared real fast, and then started evacuating people out of the building right away, thinking that all government buildings were getting hit. They didn't have no
Mhm.
idea. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying?
Mhm. I mean,
Oh
because it wasn't just the towers. Of course, the Pentagon got hit too. Like it was a lot going on that day.
yeah. Where were you on September 11th? It's one of them days that we'll never forget, and it's interesting to ask people like where were they at, what happened when they heard it, because it's one of the rare times you can remember exactly where you were and what you were doing.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely one of those times that have been, like you said, seared in the brain. Um,
Yeah,
yeah. Definitely, prayers, condolences, everything, love, light goes out to the families impacted by that tragedy. That's the real tragedy. Again, the lives lost, the heroes that went in there and tried to save lives.
yeah,
Definitely, peace and love to all of them and their
for
family.
sure. Mary Stop said, "What do you mean you don't care? You can care less about 9/11?" I mean, in one way, I understand what you mean, but explain what
Yeah,
you mean. Yeah,
yeah. That's
March
that's
4th.
kind of why I said that because yeah, at least send words to the families, the actual lives impacted.
Yeah, there's a lot of people died for sure.
Right.
Mark Manners said, I was at Homer's and went over to the diner as they had a TV and watched it there. We eventually closed, even though our downtown is nothing. It just felt weird being around buildings.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, he didn't know what was up. He said, plus people started talking about Offutt.
Yeah. That was kind of around the time when I learned about Offit, as far as like that being the kind of the base. If any disaster happens or any real attack happens to the United States, that's where the president goes to Offit.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and he can command the whole country from Offit. This is you know about that?
I mean, I didn't know that part. No, I knew that there were bunkers here. I knew that they would send big officials here. I didn't know they would send the president here. I also knew that if there was ever any kind of real crazy attack, that they would. This is one of the places they would be hitting first because it was that important of a target.
Yeah. Offit Strategic Air Command. Like this is the center. This is kind of where a lot of the air command and a lot of strategy is put down.
Yeah.
So yeah, Offit.
Yep. Amy H. Dot in the chat says, "Good morning, fam. Good morning to you too as well."
Top
Rose
of the morning.
Reviews says, "Government playing, government games winning, government prizes." Man,
I have to agree. I mean, I don't know how much into the theories we want to get, but yeah, I have to agree. That's why I definitely always try to separate as
yeah,
far as real lives were attacked. So before we get into any of the theories, just want to acknowledge the real damage that was done.
there it is. Another fresh edition, Monday, September 11th, 2023. You're right here with us on First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
We do got special guests coming in. Of course, we got brother senators Terrell McKinney and Justin Wayne coming through today. There was a meeting Saturday that they attended, trying to explain a little bit more about 531 and the millions of dollars coming in North Omaha. It is what word on the street is DED wasn't there. So again, people were wondering why and when they're going to get their questions answered. And again, the senators were there doing the best they could. So we'll hear from them and let us know how that meeting went. If you went to that meeting, let us know how that meeting went as well. We appreciate that very much. Pop says on 9/11, I was home early that morning and I got a call from the woman in the platters. I had never heard her shaking before. She asked if I knew what was happening and told me to turn on the TV.
Man,
Yeah,
I
one
don't.
of the rare thing when you can have a incident that happens that everybody affected everybody and everybody knows where they were at and what they were doing at the time. I just find that really interesting
Mhm.
in the first place. Also, Pops earlier said, "Yeah, Benjamin Franklin said it best: early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise." I got the wise part, but the rest. Yep,
uh,
yep. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get this show on the road, buddy. I appreciate you coming on through. How you feeling, by the way? You good?
Yeah, I'm better. I'm better. Feeling better. Head feeling better. Back, neck feeling better. Kind of getting mobilized as far as the vehicles getting everything in order after the accident. So got some parts for my truck. So yeah.
Okay.
Fixing that. Yeah,
On
yeah,
the
yeah.
upswing.
Everything's on the up and up.
Sounds good. Well, I hope you're on the up and up as well. Let us know how you're doing, of course, and we'll go ahead and get this show started and jump into some of the topics of the day. Again, appreciate everybody coming through. Shout out to the radio crew over there on First Sky Omaha, the listen button. Shout out to you guys, the 6:30 crew. Let me know how the mix was, and we'll go ahead and get the show started. Let's start the show.
Hey, let's start the show.
What up? What up? What up? What up? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. You're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio. First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
Hey, you put that. You got that Jeffrey Osborne on them now. This
Yeah,
time,
yeah, a
you
little
gotta
something, something. Little.
you gotta switch it up a little bit. I like that. Everybody singing with me now. Appreciate you guys coming on through. It is Monday, September 11th. Very strange day. Of course, we're not going to do too much coverage about what happened in September 11th because you're going to be hearing it all day today.
Yeah.
Everywhere, of course. We all know what happened, and the one thing that we found interesting is to find out what you were doing and where you were at the time. So if you feel like sharing that, let us know. It's one of those rare opportunities where we all kind of know where we were and what we were doing when we
Yeah.
heard the news. So, might be a good idea to kind of go back and think about that a little bit. And of course, always got to think about the people that passed away, everything that happened back then. So anyway, other than that, though, we definitely have a lot of different topics going on here in our neighborhoods that we need to address. Of course, we're going to talk a little bit about that meeting on Saturday that just
Man,
passed
did you
over at
go?
North High. Yeah. What else is on the agenda today, buddy?
A couple stories we did not get into last week as we had a few guests with some good conversation. So we're going to get into it today. Definitely want to talk about this Kansas Commission and what's going on with the search of the Marion County record. Again, that paper in Kansas that was raided by the police, and more information coming out about again the chief who called for the raid, also the judge who signed for the raid. So yeah, we'll definitely be talking about that. Also, more information coming out about Pillen and his education moves. There's some standoffs. Again, we kind of talked about this on Friday, but want to get more into it as far as the tax situation between Pillen and the schools around the state. Again, superintendents are having a little issue about how Pillen is asking them to spend their funds. So we'll definitely dive into that.
Hmm.
Also, we're having some more information again, definitely about this community meeting that went down at North High over the weekend. Big shout out to Senators Terrell, McKinney, and Justin Wayne, continuing again after they've really already done their job. They got the bill passed, they got the money allocated, they got it into the hands of the DED, but still continuing to have meetings and try to get down to the bottom of what's going on with this process. So we'll definitely talk about that. And also, looking at what's going on with the prison situation. There's a private prison, ICE detention center, right down the road in Leavenworth, Kansas. So we'll definitely talk about that as well. And as always, if there's anything on your hearts and minds that we're not talking about, feel free to let us know. Drop that into the chat. Let your mind be free. Let your voice be heard. And also, again, reminding people that the last issue of The Reader is out there. So definitely make sure you go ahead and get your copy. Shout out to Chris Baby Boy Bolin for stopping through on Friday and speaking with us. Again, the website is still up, so definitely check out thereaderomaha.com. Then also, if you're out there and you happen to come across a copy, go ahead and grab that. It's the last of a dying breed, man. The last ever.
Yeah.
Maybe not ever, but last as of right now, copy of The Reader. So yeah, let's support.
Most definitely. As a matter of fact, I'm going to have John Houston come on and talk a little bit about a little bit about the reasons why he was behind the reason he had behind letting the reader go.
Mm-hmm.
But Flatwater Free Press did a really good article on that,
Yeah,
and so
man.
we'll definitely be diving into that. I'm going to dive into the chat here real quick though, because it looks like a couple of people went to that meeting on Saturday that we were just talking about. Paul Philman looks like he was there. He says Senators and Willie Barney did a solid job facilitating community discussion regarding recovery efforts.
Okay, good,
That's what's up. Kimera said that she was there. She says, I went. It was informational. I don't have
good.
my notes in front of me, but I did take some. She said, my biggest takeaway is that Miss Vicky's comment about the DED being completely disrespectful to North Omaha by not making themselves available to explain this process. Bring a taxpayer funded.org. Yeah, that's interesting takeaway. That's what I get too. I didn't make the meeting myself, but I did hear that one of the big takeaways was the DED wasn't there, so it was definitely the senators trying to help break down some information for people that had questions. So they weren't there. So that's one of the questions. How come they weren't there? Were they invited? Did they just not show up? They're sticking to their process of questions through their website only. Not really sure, so we'll have to look into that a little bit. Also, Miss Erica Felt put this article in Friends of First Sky Omaha, so shout out to you for doing that. She said That there was a quote, the article that we're going to read, they kind of quoted Terrell Mckinney, but they left out a few words that would have changed a little bit of the context of his quote.
Hmm.
Well, I'm interested to hear about what that is. Let us know, Miss Erica Felt, and also when the senator come on, remind me to ask him about that for sure. So we'll definitely check it out. It is September 11th, and of course, you're going to hear a lot about what happened on 9/11 all day long. But what we're talking about here about it is where people were and what they were doing at the time. Kimber Snipes says something interesting. She says 9/11 is what really got me interested in government. I read the 9/11 Commission report. I read the
Man.
commission report. So that was interesting. Marlon Harrison said I was in first grade, even younger than Buddy. Said, side note, y'all remember that Dave Chappelle joked about how MTV and Ja Rule is there to explain what happened on 9/11?
Where's Ja?
We talked about it.
Where's Ja?
We talked about it at the content creators camp because we were talking about personal brands and how that opens up, opens you up to have opportunities like people get a hold of you for comment. Yeah,
Where's Ja?
yep. Oh, that is hilarious. Also, Amy H. Dot says, I was working at a production geared company and remember not being able to focus on the work they wanted us to keep doing. All I wanted to do was be with my family. Kept trying to get a hold of New York fam. Yeah,
Man.
that was one of the things that I remember distinctly too. Everybody was like, "We got to get home to our families. We got, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what's going on, but we're gonna deal with it together." So that was really interesting. Richard J. Good in the house. I don't remember seeing that name before.
Hey, welcome, welcome.
Welcome. He says, in the early morning hours of 9/11, I got fired from a delivery job, a driver job I had. I drove back to my apartment and immediately grabbed a copy of the paper and started looking for another job. Found another delivery job to apply for and headed that way. On the way out to the car, some homies that lived on the block were telling me about the armed guards that mobilized on the roof of the Federal Reserve building. Didn't really process what they were saying because mentally I was in that go get this job mode. I went to the spot, started filling out the paper application, and sounded like the crew was watching some war movie in the back. Come to find out, they were watching news coverage of what just went down. But again, I was in this get the job mode, so none of that really hit me until I got back home from applying for this job.
Man.
I love that story, man. I love the detail in that story too. This is what I mean. This is what's interesting to me is that there's rare times when we all know where we were at and what we were doing, what we were thinking at the same time, right at that particular moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
And and as you can see, we can dig deep and figure out exactly what we were thinking, doing. We can visualize it, all that stuff. Miss Erica
Yeah.
Phelps says, I was making coffee, waiting for the child care children to arrive. I had the Today Show on and learned to never have news on with children in the room. My son saw both planes hit live and people jumping. Shake my head, man.
Man.
Deep, deep, deep. So yeah, appreciate everybody who's sharing their stories there for sure. We'll definitely continue to you can continue to put those in the chat. We might not read all of them, but we appreciate you sharing them with us. We definitely will definitely are interested in what happened because to me I think it's just an interesting thing to know where you were at, what you were doing at the same time.
Man, Mama God giving some more context
Oh yeah.
to my experience. So she says, in process of relocating family, flew home to visit the hubby, and my son walked in the room when the first tower was hit and thought it was a movie. Still unbelievable. Yeah, yeah, man,
Wow.
yeah. And I remember just hearing her reaction to what we all thought was a movie.
Marianne Williams in the house. Good morning. She says, I was home with a sick kid, wondering if I should pick up the one who went to school that morning. Yep, I remember a lot of that. Stuart
Mhm.
Chittenden in the house. What's going on, Stuart?
Hey, Stewie C.
Yeah, he says, sad anniversary today. Thought, though I am also celebrating some birthdays of friends. In
Mm.
2001, my wife and I were on our way to belated honeymoon on 9/11. Wow.
Man, so you were flying. I didn't realize Mama God was flying on that day as well. She said she had just got back. We were in the
Wow.
process of moving to North Carolina at that time. And it's funny, I remember the very next year my school had like this whole ceremony. We went outside, surrounded the American flag and pulled it down to half staff, and that's when I realized like, oh, this was something big. Like this was something.
Even in third grade, you knew what
Yeah,
was
yeah.
up. Yeah. Interesting stuff, man. Yeah, very, very, very. I think about little man. I think about my nephew. All the kids growing up right now that's in Generation Alpha, and
I have no
uh,
idea.
yeah, they have no idea. Of course, they have no idea. I mean, this happened 22, 23 years ago now, right?
Yeah, man. 22.
So there's people that have been born that weren't around when this happened. Don't have any memory of that except for what they see on TV. And I think about that. When I was little, I remember seeing stuff on TV about the civil rights movement, marches, people getting dogs sicked on them, all kinds of stuff in black and white film. One reel that's kind of that everybody remembers that just go. This is something way different. When back in the day, when you look back on footage of big events that happened, you only had one or two shots or one or two pieces of film that you just saw over and over again. This 9/11 is the first is one of the first tragedies that happened when in full color, full display, full HD, all the cameras, everybody got a camera, the different angles. I mean, so many things, so many ways to remember this, to see this. I can't imagine like young kids who have to go back and learn about this and the completeness of which they can take it all in because of media, the media that we had in 2001. So like, it's a trip, man. It's a trip. When you go back, you can kind of immerse yourself into it, and it's interesting. There's hardly any. It doesn't feel like there's any separation there. You know what I'm saying? You can just you'll feel all the emotions and see all the stuff, and like Miss Erica Phelps said, people jumping and everything. All that is on full display, and you can go to the cloud and see it all. So interesting stuff. Man. Anyway, 9/11. Miss Erica Phelps says so much hatred towards Muslims and Sikhs. Anyone with a turban, yeah. The
Yeah.
time frame after that,
The Islamophobia. That's what Malik Rogers is saying. Remember the moment, but truly remember the hate towards any of us with a Muslim name.
bro. But Rome's Review says, I remember having a small amount of PTSD after. I couldn't tell if planes were flying, landing, or crashing.
Man,
Bro. So, thanks for you guys sharing your stories and all that. I really appreciate that very much. Thanks for everybody that's joining us this morning as well. Lots of people on and lots of people talking, chiming into the chat. Our chat is the greatest. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. We'll go ahead and start jumping into some stories here before the senators come on. But Pop said, Paul, I was nearly your age when it happened. Wow, that's a
man,
trip.
that's what I said. Like my son is pretty much the same age as me when. Yeah.
Interesting things, man. Right on, man. Appreciate everybody joining in on this discussion here. Let's go ahead and jump into the talk about what happened at the meeting over here. You want to jump into that article real quick? Since we got chat chimers that are in the chat that were actually at the meeting, maybe we can get a little bit more context from them.
Yeah, I guess we can jump in there. And we do have are expecting the senators coming through, so
True, true.
definitely would love to hear their take on it. But yeah, if anyone was in the audience in attendance, we would love to hear your take. We can jump into today's news. The weekend again, Governor Pillen, or not over the weekend, Governor Pillen back in June actually signed LB 531 into law, which of course is a bill which is now being called the North and South Omaha Recovery Grant Program, which was launched by the Nebraska Department of Economic Development as a result of 531. The program looks to provide grants to businesses in South Omaha affected by the pandemic. Now we've learned it's actually 8 different grant programs that individuals that can apply for. Of course, not all individuals who are learning exactly who can apply according to the manual that was released earlier this month. There's about 8 different funding categories, and in order to qualify for those categories, you have to have either been in the Olson report or also the appendices that is available on the state's legislature website. Of course, State Senator Terrell McKinney and Justin Wayne, who I mentioned earlier, have already done what their job's really done. This is extra. This is extracurricular over putting in. So big shout out to the senators, instrumental in trying to get this bill passed, but now being instrumental in making sure that it gets across the finish line. They held the meeting over Saturday in conjunction with Willie Hamilton and Willie Barney, if I'm not mistaken, to really bring some information to the people. And from what I'm hearing, let Kimra tell it, it was informational, which is kind of a 180 from the meeting that took place that was held by the DED, in which a lot of people felt quote unquote disrespected. But I would like to hear what are some of the information. I don't know, Kimmer, if you were able to get to your notes yet, but what are some of the big takeaways for those who were available? And one of the big things I'm hearing is actually the lack of attendance from the DED. Again, a lot of people saying that caused a lot of frustration. One person in attendance said, "I think it's respectful for the Department of Economic Development in the state of Nebraska can't take time to come to a meeting like this." Also, Senator McKinney said he was disappointed, saying they could have at least showed up to provide some insight on the process and what would take place as far as the application process goes. Again, we've been looking at this process. As I mentioned, the Bible was released last month or earlier this month or late last month, we'll say. And we've been looking through it, trying to study it, and a lot of information, but still a few questions. So it would definitely benefit the people for the DED to step up and speak out. We've been trying to reach out to the DED, still haven't really been able to solidify a meeting, a time. Um, Kind of got all the way up to trying to confirm a time, and it seems like communication fell off. So I am wondering what's going on with that. But again, any of you that were there, what are your takeaways?
Yeah, definitely want to hear from talk to you, Amy H. Dot on that. If we got any more correspondence there with the office, Miss Erica Felt put this in Friends of First Sky Omaha. First of all, thank you very much for putting that there. She said also the caption that the KMTV Channel 3 pulled from Senator McKinney. She says it reads very differently than if they had added the other 5 words of his sentence.
Hmm.
So, could you tell me the gist of that, the other 5 words of the sentence, and of course, we'll
Yeah.
ask Senator McKinney when he comes on, what his thought was behind his comment as well. Kimmer Snipes in the chat says Tony Vargas and Mike McDonald was called out by Ben Salazar, a South O leader, at the meeting for not being present. So they weren't present at that particular meeting as well. Um, and of course, we don't know any reasons why people were present or not present. I do know that this is one of many meetings that happen at North Omaha that the Empowerment Network helps facilitate.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that there was definitely I've been to a couple of them where they had the breakfast at 8:45 and the talk at 9. So this is kind of a, I don't want to say regular meeting because I don't know how regular it is, but this is definitely something that they've done many times before.
I think
And mhm,
Cameron said it'd be monthly last episode. It's a
it's a
monthly
monthly.
meeting. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I was feeling like, it was a monthly meeting, and so not a meeting that was specifically put together there to explain the 531 money. So, but that was going to be a big topic of conversation on this particular meeting that was held this particular time.
Mm-hmm.
If it were, if this wasn't an issue, then they would be still having that meeting talking about other issues. So it just happens to be that this is kind of top of mind here for everybody in town, on the north and south side. So yeah, I don't quite know, how it was handled. That's another thing. Did the facilitators of this meeting specifically reach out to Senator Vargas, to the DED, and ask them to come through for this particular one? So there's some questions I have about exactly what happened there. But I mean, the story here is really that people still have a lot of questions, and we're and everybody's needs some answers. They have questions. They need
Mm-hmm.
answers. I'm only seeing the senators, Willie Barney, Willie Hamilton. I'm only seeing a few people that are even trying to answer some questions and help with this process. So, and the DED, I'm not gonna throw them on the bus all the way either. They did put this website out. They did do a whole bunch of work to try to get some of this stuff circumvented. Don't know if I agree with their decisions on how they communicating with the black community, but it's not like they're not trying to communicate to the black community at all. They
Mm-hmm.
put some things in place and try to streamline this thing as much as they could. I think they could have used some other consultation there and some help, and I definitely think they should have reached out to the senators to get some help with being able to at least communicate stuff. So that's what it is. Kimber is talking about that meeting. She says each meeting has a different topic. Says it's a regular meeting. It would be held the second Saturday of each month. They stopped doing it when COVID happened. That's what happened. I was going to them before COVID. I remember that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mhm.
So they were called out for not being present at all, not just this meeting. Okay. Talking about Senator Vargas and who else did you say? And Mike McDonald.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I was definitely expecting to see and hear more from Senator Vargas. Um, especially the relationship that I thought we built during his campaign. Definitely thought that he would be. I haven't. Yeah, yeah. I think that's a valid call out.
I,
Like
I see.
we're.
I see him from time to time. We still we still chop it up when we get together. I've never asked him to come back onto the show.
Mhm.
He's never asked to be on the show.
But
So
it just in regards to this whole process, in
yeah,
regards to again being a part of the board that got this passed, being one of the faces, the representatives, at least politically, of South Omaha, where you at?
yeah. Well, I think he's there for South Omaha for sure. I think that he's a part of the reason why they're getting a big chunk of the money. I think that he's been instrumental in helping what's the organization out there that's supposed, I can't remember the name of the organization that's getting the big chunk.
Mm,
Um, I have to go back and look. But yeah, it's a conglomerate of South Side companies that have gotten together, and they are getting a big chunk of those funds in order to build up the neighborhood there too. So I think he's been pretty instrumental there. I have to, Kimmer, what do you think? You're definitely a South Side person who is the South Side neighborhood person. Does it seem like Senator Vargas is out there advocating for making sure that the South Side gets the chunk of money that they're trying to get?
mhm.
Do we
I just
do we need to do we need to say where are you at in this whole process in the way that the senators are there? The senators are kind of like trying to explain this to everybody, but Senator Terrell McKinney and Senator Justin Wayne are. Um, I don't know if we can ask them when they come. Have they teamed up with Senator Vargas? They've teamed up on the bill, so are they teaming up on anything afterwards?
Mhm.
Kimber Snipe says, "Well, that's what happens when you jump in at the last minute, but at least he jumped in." Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Canopy South, that's what I was trying to think of, thank you. So
The Canopy South getting a chunk of money?
big chunk. Yeah. They were it seemed to me like Southside was a little bit more organized than what happened on the north side a little bit on what happened. She said the Latino Community Development Corporation. I think it was Canopy South is what I was thinking about. At one time I didn't know like some of the businesses that were involved there. I forgot now, but yeah, it was kind of a let's get together and we had a big they have a big project that was happening, and they came in on time, and I believe Senator Vargas helped them get together and put that app in, and Olson gave him a big evaluation. So like,
Mm.
yeah, there's they definitely have been putting in the work on what's going on South Side. This is some of the frustration that some of the senators have expressed about how North Side ain't really getting together on stuff.
Well, I don't know. I have questions if Canopy South is getting a big chunk of that fund. Because we've had some conversations about Canopy South in the past and how they're redeveloping. I'll use that word loosely. The South Terrace apartments,
That's one of the
Southside
projects. Yeah.
projects. I hope they don't get. I'll just put it plainly. I hope they don't get a chunk of the economic recovery funds to displace a lot of families and gentrify the South Side.
Yeah.
And if Senator Vargas had a hand in helping them get those funds, I'm still looking side eye. Like,
Well, I
okay,
mean, people can look at what's the North Side projects and feel the same way. That there's
yeah,
gonna be a
yeah,
lot of gentrification on 24th, 16th, and 30th, and people maybe getting displaced. So, I mean, that's kind of is a given too. If you got millions of dollars coming to the neighborhood and they're trying to facilitate projects in order to better the neighborhood, then that's always going to be an issue, whether or not something's getting gentrified. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
Mr. Kimmer Snipe says it doesn't seem like that. It doesn't seem like he was a part of. You're talking about a part of helping that process over there.
Okay.
She says I agree with Ben Salazar for once that they should be called out for not being a part of what's going on there. Amy H. Dot said he's nice, but I'm generally disappointed in Senator Vargas. He is there for some members of South Omaha, but Latinos are not only the only residents in South O. That's coming from a Latina.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't want to paint Senator Vargas as just a horrible person.
No,
Just
of course
where you
not.
at?
Cameron Snipes says if you're a part of the Latino community in South Omaha, you're good to go.
Well, hey, I know we have a huge South Sudanese population in South Omaha. Where they at? What love and support are they getting?
Well, and we can say the same thing here. I do think there were some projects, looking through the Olson report, that some of the people like the Sudanese people and other people from other countries were applying for things and getting funds as well. So I mean, to me, it's kind of all over, and it's just it's this money is for North and South Omaha. I do
Hmm.
think there should be more talk about it overall. But we also don't know hear too much about the other senators that were part of this whole process. Senator Blood
Yeah.
was a part of this whole process. There's a senator that got some money that's supposed to go out to rural Nebraska as well. We don't know too much about that situation as well. We've been kind of concentrating on what's going to happen with the North Omaha funds coming in. So yeah, there's still a whole lot of questions, of course, and that's if you're trying to just see it all and cover it all.
Hmm.
Or if you're a business that you applied and you're part of this thing, you're trying to find out what's going on with your business. We also went through a period of time where there had to be appendices put on this thing because Charles Drew got left out, Malcolm X and them got left out, so they came back and put them in. You know what I'm saying? There's been a lot of movement here, and really the only information that we ever been getting here is from Senator Justin Wayne, Senator Terrell McKinney. That's really the clearest information that
Hmm.
has been coming in from them, and you can see, and
Kind
it's
of the
taken,
only information.
yeah, it's taken them 2 seasons to come in every week, and we still got questions. So it is what it is. And if you guys are just joining us, you know that they will be in here soon as well. So if you got questions, get your questions ready for brothers Senators Terrell McKinney and Justin Wayne. I'm anxious to hear what they thought of the meeting, what the next steps are. Might be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was just going to comment. I will say, from reading from the through the manual, the manual that the DED
Mhm.
released. There is a lot of it's very codified. There's a lot of information to go through. There's a lot of references to state statute and code that you might have to go through. But there is some good information in there, like as far as who's eligible, who's not. After kind of reading through that a couple times, I felt pretty clear, and hopefully everyone is taking the time to read themselves. Hopefully, we're not just waiting on the DED to give us a bunch of information. That I mean, there is some information in that book, so hopefully people are reading that, because I know some people won't. I'll be honest, some people aren't going to read that information. Some people are just going to come with a bunch of questions
Right.
that they could have answered themselves. Yes, I would like to see the DED more active, more involved, more accessible. But read that document, go through the information that has been provided so far.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Definitely appreciate everybody's comments here. If you got any other thoughts on this subject, please let us know. Like I said, one of the things that we're trying to facilitate is some open dialogue with the architects of the bill in the first place, which is
Hmm.
Senator Terrell McKinney, Senator Justin Wayne, that will be on shortly. And one of the questions is everything still going in the spirit of what they put it out there to be in the first place?
Yep, that's my
Yeah,
question.
it's a very good question. So we appreciate it very much. Rick Fulton in the chat says Nebraska Department of Economic Development is the keystone cops of state agencies. The more that I'm learning about them, the more that I'm getting into what it is. I have to say that they've done some work to put this thing together in the best way that they had with the resources they had. I got reminded the other day from some organizations out here in Benson that that department is still there's other 1024 recovery money for other sections of Nebraska for other reasons that exist that they are that those people are applying for right now. And I got confused when they told me, and I was like, "You mean the 1024 money, the North and South Omaha money? No, this is not the North and South Omaha money." It just reminded me.
Hmm.
It reminded me that that this department has several jobs,
Programs.
programs, and
Mhm.
things to do. So I don't know how big the office is, but I'm sure that they're stretching their resources really pretty thin right now with what's going on too. So the more I get it, the more I start to and try to look in and understand about where they're coming from. Then the more that I'm seeing, the more I'm learning about the department and all that it entails. There's a lot. So for this to be, and then of course, right, this is something that is so big and different than anything they had to really kind of deal with. I'm kind of see what they're going through to make this thing do what it does. So we'll see. we like. I'm glad that I kept reading the thing too, and are coming to some better understanding of some stuff, and we'll
Mm-hmm.
definitely get
Mm-hmm.
together today and talk about it so we can really fully understand even more. But it'll be interesting to see what goes on there. Um, so anyway, yeah, let's move on from that. And like I said, we'll get your questions together for the senators when they come on, and we can ask them a little bit more about what happened at that meeting on Saturday, next steps, if they've talked to the DED. These are all questions that I'm wondering if there's been any communication with the DED quite yet. And then of course we've put out an effort thanks to Amy H. Dot on being able to speak to the DED as well. I'm definitely going to ask them to come on to the show if they if we do get a meeting with them and see if we can get some more answers from them. But you got a point there too, buddy. Read the thing that they put out so that a lot of your questions might be answered just reading the material.
Mm-hmm.
When I think about putting questions together, that's what I think. Like as a reporter, and I know that reporters get taught this. Do your research first. Don't
Yeah.
come asking questions that is common knowledge and all that kind of stuff. If you got questions, it needs to come after you've done the research and already know everything you're supposed to know in the first place about the situation. And if there's questions beyond that, that's when you start asking. So we'll see.
Right. Right. And I will also point out if you read through it, you'll kind of see a lot of. I get the sense that a lot of the applications will fall under the small business grant, and which is one of the 8 categories. And in that small business support grant, it does state that the DED will be having economic viability meetings with each applicant who applies. So it's going to be a process. Also, looking at the dates, you pointed this out, Paul. I think the small business that specific program also is one of the ones that has the widest application window. I think you have until the end of the year to apply for that one.
Mhm.
But there are some other ones that the application is open. I think actually that article says that there's 4 applications that are currently open and for you to apply for. So definitely, again, don't waste any time.
Yep.
Like look through these documents, get on top of it. If you are somebody who are going for those funds, if you're someone who did apply, uh, the time is
Yeah.
now.
T. Ren in the chat is saying only 3 of the 8 sections are open to application. I read from an article. So yeah,
Yeah.
limited ones. We'll see. We'll definitely get some questions answered. It's 7:48 right now. If you believe in the concept of time, and we got the brother senators waiting in the wings, ladies and gentlemen. Brother Senator Terrell McKinney and Justin Wayne in the house. Good morning, fellas.
Good morning.
Peace, peace.
How you
Morning.
doing?
Good.
Okay, you awake there, brother Wayne? What's happening?
Oh no, I'm awake. I was listening to you guys earlier, and today's an interesting day because this is also, collectively as a society, it's about 9/11, but individually, it's one of the happiest days of my life because it's my daughter's birthday. So my first and
Hey.
oldest kid. So
Way to put
yeah.
some better context on the date. I like that.
Yeah, man.
Well, it just goes to show that everything isn't per hour. It doesn't have to be either or. That there could be actually something good while something bad is also being reminded. And I think too often as society, we think it has to be either or, and it just don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got a very binary society, that's for sure.
Yeah, you got to take the yin with the
How
yang.
you feeling, brother McKinney?
I'm good, man.
You feeling all right?
Yeah.
You guys have a good weekend?
Yeah, it was cool. I just chilled. Man, I did too. We barely even talked this weekend. It's been the first 2 years. Me and him really didn't talk this weekend. We was just got a lot trying to get my lighting right. I've been watching y'all. I'm trying to get this pod thing down.
You got okay.
Hey, watch out.
Hey,
I'm learning here.
Hey, buddy. Next season he's gonna come with the purple light in the back. He's just gonna go ahead and take on over.
Man. Pop up with the SM7 and everything. Okay.
That's what's up.
I see Cox. I did see Cox has fiber now. They got the. I seen the commercial out. They got the commercials for the fiber
Better
now.
hurry up and get that fiber. They got a lot of competition coming in on them.
Man.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys getting up, man. Of course, we always want to know how you guys is doing first and foremost. I'm glad you guys got a chance to chill this weekend a little bit.
Yeah.
Most definitely. I had a chance to chill too because I got a little food poisoning the other day. So,
Oh man. Why is the first time I'm hearing about it,
I
man?
know you ain't talking, Mister. I got a major life crisis going on, but everything's cool. No, I'm good. I'm good, man. I was just that means I had to sit down kind of all weekend, and that gave me a chance to read up on that stuff with the DED and just kind of work a little bit. So,
Okay.
Sean McCarthy said, "Happy birthday to your daughter, Senators." Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Skip
yeah.
right over that. Appreciate you reminding us to say that, brother McCarthy.
The fam.
That's right. Yeah, 9/11. What it is, what it is. Before we get into it, we were talking. If you heard us earlier, we were talking about. We kind of did want to know where you were at, what you was doing when 9/11 went down. Just because I think it's an interesting thing. That so one of the only times that we can all know what we were doing, what we was thinking, and where we were at the
Mm-hmm.
time. You guys want to weigh in there?
Um, I think I was in the sixth grade. I remember my teacher coming into class. She ran into class crying, screaming, "We're under attack!" Literally.
What? What? That's not how you break the news to a room full of kids. That's
Fifth
just
grade.
it's not.
She did. I was at Benson West.
Yeah, she that's not that's not how you break the news.
Man,
I
ran
was
to a
at
room.
Creighton in the business school, and we were getting ready to start class, and then everybody kind of stopped and started watching the TV, and then I remember had my flip phone trying to call people out in New York that I knew, and then I within an hour I knew that president was coming here. We had pretty much locked down everything, and just from at the time I was interning for U.S. Senator Nelson, so I had some context of who I could call and talk to people about. And everybody, the whole entire office, everybody was just like, "We shutting down. We're under attack. We're not sure what's what." And I remember me just going home and was like, "Well, I mean, either we're gonna get nuked because of Offutt, or Offutt gonna say today." That's pretty much where we were.
Wow, man.
Man.
Uh,
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think if there's any other event throughout my life that I can remember that clearly. And I think Michael Jackson passing is the only date I can think of.
Michael Jackson and Prince for me. I remember my parents always talking about they knew my parents and their aunts uncles in that generation. It's always like I remember when John F. Kennedy got shot. I remember when Elvis died. I remember when Jimi Hendrix passed away. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember growing up hearing about all these dates. They remember exactly where they were when it happened, type of thing. And I always thought that was pretty fascinating. I was fascinated by that. We definitely had that in our generation though, especially with 9/11. So it's kind of a trip. Sean McCarthy in the chat says it's amazing that more than a third of the country now has no physical memory of 9/11, either because they weren't born yet or were too young to remember. Many millennials and especially Gen Zers. It's
Yep.
kind of a trip.
Yeah.
It's kind of a trip. It's just a trip to think the 90s was 30 years ago.
It is, and what's crazy is weeks later, everybody kind of forgot who was Democrat, Republican. Everybody was still unsure what was going on. I mean, there was, to the point earlier, a lot of hatred if you had a last name. I remember a good friend of mine, actually a brother of a girl I used to date in high school. They were from Afghanistan. And you talking about the person who fundamentally changed their life, was in and out of trouble in high school, and decided he wanted to become a pilot. Spent a whole bunch of money, got all of his hours, and then his last name was Wahab. And when 9/11 happened, couldn't get a job anywhere flying.
Wow.
Man.
And so
Man.
the hatred from that also, I remember, a lot of that. And he's in the medical field now, but for 2 or 3 years after that, he couldn't. Yeah, he got let go of one airline and couldn't get a job just because of his last name.
It's Islamophobia. It's real.
Bro, I just remember after, like you said, all that, not just what happened that day, but what continued to happen all through the years after that. I remember the black community and the Arab community got real tight out because they was getting treated real bad, and it was like, oh, okay. I remember a lot of unity happening between people of color around that time too. So trip. Appreciate you guys for sharing that real quick. We're gonna jump into first of all anything that's going on that you guys think that we need to be knowing about. Know that I've kind of put it out there to the chat if they have any questions to save them for you guys. We're definitely going to talk about that meeting on Saturday and what happened there. Brother McKinney, there was a quote in KMTV that Miss Erica Phelps said they kind of cut your quote off. So I wanted to ask you about that. Your thought behind your comments to them But anything before we jump into those things that you guys came on to tell us, let us know something that you think we ought to be knowing about here. Any
I mean, for me, it's real simple. Don't let this be an excuse of why we don't put our best foot forward.
Mm-hmm.
Historically, since day one, we set foot on in America. It's been obstacle after obstacle, but we've always overcame. So people who feel like, oh, this is just another obstacle, another to not let North, don't let that be an excuse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hear that. Tell us about Saturday.
Yeah. How'd they go?
I thought Saturday went as good as it could have went. We were invited by Willie Barney and Willie Hamilton to come talk about the process. We just kind of just went through the manual page by page, pretty much
Okay.
hitting each category and like the requirements, and just talk through that and answer questions and try to answer as best as we could. It was some questions that DD needs to answer that I believe Willie took down and submitted some questions to them. So hopefully within the next couple of days they post the responses to those questions on the website.
Okay. Do you know if the DD was invited to that meeting?
They were.
Mm.
So it sounds like Brother Barney has a direct line of communication with DED. Would I be accurate in saying that, or is he just taking the questions down and going to do the best he can to get them to him?
I mean, well, on the website, it's an email that you could submit the questions to. I don't know. I wouldn't say how direct the line is, but you
Okay,
can submit
he's
the
gonna go through
question.
the process. They said everybody should go through then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After reading through the book yourselves, I'm curious, what questions do you have, or concerns do you have after reading through it a little more?
I don't like the requirements to ask the city for a letter of recommendation.
Okay.
I don't
So big
like the
things.
rapid category because it excludes for-profit businesses. Um, I probably could go on and on.
Mm.
It's just a lot of little things within the program manual that I really don't like. What else? I'm trying to think. I had it in my head. Come back to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Senator Wayne.
No, I mean all the things that he just said. I think in addition, I just have concerns that DED is going to try to do a balancing act. That because we were able to set aside additional dollars for the airport park, for Charles Drew, for Malcolm X, that they're going to say, well, out of this pot of money, we're going to have to balance it. And the legislature specifically rejected that last year and this year. On the floor, at one point, Senator Vargas was asked how much money does South Omaha really need, and he was only able to come up with about a little bit less than 100 million. And I'm not saying that's not significant, but it was specifically rejected, this balancing approach, because one, North Omaha census tracts had almost 30,000 more people, 40,000 more people to the historical context. And this ain't a knock on South Omaha. And I'm sure somebody's going to do a sound bite and say Justin's not for South Omaha. But the historical context is South Omaha was white and doing well into the late 80s, if not early 90s, right? In fact, if you talk to South Omaha, you hear of the South Omaha boys, SOBs. Those were all Irish, Catholic, Protestant people who were a part of society, integrated in society and doing well. Whereas on the flip side, North Omaha, you were dealing with redlining. You couldn't buy a house. You couldn't. So, my fear is the way I see this program being written and how the placemaking doesn't have a cap. And you look at Canopy South's application and need, how they might divert funds that arguably should be in North Omaha to South Omaha and put us against each other. And that's my biggest concern. And then downtown getting money. So I'll give you a hard example. A hard example is that they've capped OEDC in the report at $10 million. So if you got any planning grant for the airport, which is OEDC and the chamber, then you're capped at 10 million. Well, OEDC has two other projects, one at 20 million and one at 10 million that they were recommended for. So right now, you're taking a North Omaha organization and you just gutted pretty much 20 million from them. Whether that's good, bad, or indifferent, I don't know if that's following, in my opinion, the law when we say you have to use Jake Olson as a priority, when essentially you just cut one of those priorities out the gate.
Mm.
So it's just that kind of where I'm not sure how it falls into place.
Yeah. You guys have any more communication with the office since we talked to you last?
No, I don't think I've talked to him at all.
I
Yeah.
haven't.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, like I said, the what I take away from this especially this last couple of weeks that you guys have come on and what you even saying today, we're in this situation again that black folks the black community finds ourselves regularly, which is, um, let's at the very least let's concentrate on making sure that all of our I's are dotted and T's are crossed on what it is that we got to do and come with it all the way. We highly encourage everybody to read that document. This would be the third time I'm gonna read through it this week. Just really trying to gain some understanding, and the senators have been gracious enough to come on way beyond the job they did. Like Buddy was saying earlier, it's already done, but they're still here trying to help it in the spirit of the reason why the bill was they pushed for the bill in the first place. Just to try to make sure that some of these projects, some of these things can happen here. So there's still a few concerns here and there. Update on our stuff. Amy H. Dot is has helped us out to try to get a meeting with somebody over there as well. And they were responding in the beginning, and then they kind of ceased that. So we will catch up with her to find out if there was any more correspondence there going on. But my set of questions have kind of changed since we even initiated that in the first place. I don't really I kind of, I guess I'm listening to what the senators are saying. I'm listening to what some of the chat chimers have been asking, and so even even the questions that I have changed a little bit. And also I'm kind of focusing in a little bit about not just our situation as First Sky Omaha, but also what is happening with these other things. Some of those things I was worried about are already taken care of. Like I was worried about Charles Drew, getting some funds. That's taken care of. So there were some things that I had at the beginning of this process that I definitely have changed my line of just the way of questioning. I just kind of changed that. I kind of want to know from them, uh is there any what can they do to kind of answer questions for other people in the community that have questions. I kind of want to know more than anything that part. What are they doing to help support this situation here? Can you guys? Is there anything, if we ever do get a meeting with them, anything that you think that we ought to be asking, or not asking, in order to make sure that we are on the right track?
I think the biggest thing for anybody, if you get in front of them, is just really ask them directly, what are your expectations? What shouldn't I do? Like, what are you exactly looking for when you're looking at somebody applying, or what are you looking at if I do get it? If I do get approved, what are the clear expectations? Out, like, because the manual is the manual, but I feel like there's still other expectations that aren't in the
Okay.
manual. So just get a clear understanding of the
Mm,
expectations that DED has for you.
that's good to know. Okay. Yeah, I'll jump into the chat real quick. Next, I'm seeing Paul Philman in the chat saying Willie Barney indicated that there were several organizations in attendance at the meeting that had a combined 50 million that people can apply for if they were not included in the DED grant process. What's that about?
I'm not sure. I think he's talking about the placemaking that you could, there's a couple projects in there. Maybe that's what he's talking about. But that requires the city letter of support. So that's the issue that Senator McKinney was talking about, is the placemaking and the youth sports. It's it says the city can apply, or you got to get a letter of support from them.
Yeah.
On the face of that, that's a direct conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Either the city can apply, or they can open themselves up to other competition.
Mm. Okay, Mr. Philman, if you know, if give me a little bit more clarification on your comment there. Let us know if you got any more information there on that as well. And if that's what Senator Wayne, if that's what he just explained, is what you were talking about, I'd like to know. Amy H. Dot said, I reached out again today, hoping to get a response after either way. So yeah, appreciate your efforts there. Yeah, man. I mean, we keep on coming back to the roundabout to exactly what you were saying earlier, man. Let's not drop the ball on it on our side. Let's definitely go through the thing, ask as many questions as we can ask. You know, their process is that they have a website where you can ask the questions. Does anybody in the chat use that website? Have you anybody who had questions put questions in the website? Like to hear about that. Let us know.
Paul Philman is saying it's completely separate from the DED plan, so he's saying it's something else
I don't
that
know
is
anything
mentioned.
about it.
I also saw a chat chimer or mention that there's another million or so that the city has for North Omaha. Do y'all have any knowledge about that?
The city got some million.
That's what a chat chimer said. As far as there's another $1 million available to city council. This was last episode.
I have no
Okay.
idea what the city council does.
Okay. Man,
There's a whole lot of money that's always moving around. I know that much.
it is. I mean, but to that point, like, what conversations are, because isn't beyond just the letter of approval? Isn't the city going to have some kind of say, or isn't the city going to have to play some role in making sure that these funds and these projects do get developed? Like, what conversation are you having with the city?
We've been having a lot of conversation with the city. Honestly, looking back, if I had to redo this whole thing again, I'd probably give the money more directly or give more money to the city. It seems like they're the only ones who are actually responding to the vision of what we're trying to do here. So we've been having a lot of conversation with the city, but how does that translate into the applicants? That I don't know.
Okay. Paul Philman says Willie Barney can clarify funding sources separate deep from DED.
I think he might have been talking about, so, and for example, in the Innovation Hub bill, there was a separate pot of money. I think it was $5 million for small business assistance, and that's being ran through the Nebraska Enterprise Fund. And I just found out on Saturday that people should probably start calling them and applying some type of way, because in that bill, they're in that $5 million. If you're a business within like 1 to 5 years, you could get up to like a $25,000 grant, or if you're after 5 years, like a $12,500 grant. So if you're a business, that's another entity that you probably should be reaching out to, the Nebraska Enterprise Fund, because they do have money for North Omaha.
I do remember Willie Barney talking about some of those things too. That even the Empowerment Network was gonna some of the money they applied for was gonna be in order to supplement, help other small businesses get up and running and so on. So even with the organizations that are gonna receive funds through this thing, there still might be some collaboration that can happen with those organizations that are trying to set aside some money for other people. So. Yeah, there's still a lot to learn here on that, but I think right now everybody's really stuck on figuring out what the DED is doing. Amy H. No Dot says I sent a question directly to the contact for the program we're going to apply for and got a response. Okay, cool.
Good.
So that was the other thing that we kind of had to figure out where we are. For Sky Omaha really can only apply probably through the small business section. That's kind of what we assessed from our reading, and so there's a specific person that is heading up that. Okay, let me grab this.
This is a link for the Nebraska Enterprise Fund for anybody who wants to do a little bit more research.
Sweet. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so there's the link to Nebraska Enterprise Fund. Great. Yeah.
Did y'all get a call from DD for an interview?
We did not.
And you guys are for profit, right?
Yeah.
See, so for-profit business is supposed to have an individual interview.
That's what I said. After reading through the manual, it does state that the DED will reach out to everyone eligible for the small business support grant to do an economic viability analysis. I didn't know if we had to apply for it, and also it says on the application that that grant specifically will be open on the 1st, but when I go to the website, it doesn't say apply now. There's no way to apply yet. So yeah, I am wondering what's going on with that.
you're not able to apply to the small business one. You gotta set up that interview.
Okay. So that's
Yeah.
the next move for us is to go ahead and call the person that's heading up that. Buddy, you already had her name, right?
Yeah, I have that information, but that's just from me looking through it and trying to, kind of process of elimination our way to figure out which grant we actually qualify for. And we're one of the 35 that's on the Olsen plan. So it is very interesting to have to go through all that and figure out, I feel like at the very least the DED should give you some kind of resource or information to at least let you know what application of the 8 that you qualify for.
I wonder if they're considering y'all under something else, but according to the manual or the facts and questions, they're not telling people where they fit, which is
Right.
dumb.
Because then you gotta spend you only have a limited window to begin with. Like you only have a limited window to begin with, and now you gotta waste some of the time trying to figure out which application to even apply for. And it also states that you can only apply for one. So if you put in one application and figure out that that's the wrong grant, and then try to put in another application, then you're stuck with the grant that you don't qualify for.
Well,
You heard him. He
my
said it's
understanding
dumb.
is if
It's
you are
dumb.
for profit, my understanding if you are for profit, it doesn't matter what category you're in, that you're supposed to have. They're treating for profits different than nonprofits. That
Right.
there should be an interview, which is a problem in and of itself because historically, uh, government subjectivity in interviews has never fared well for our community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's
That's what
already a scrutiny. It's already like, yeah, what kind of harebrained idea you coming in with now, basically.
yep.
So in fairness, DED, right? They have programs for site and building fund and those kind of things. They do interviews with business for profit businesses. But if you comparing a Google, Facebook to a $2 million organization in North Omaha that's maybe just surviving and trying to figure out how to get to the next level, like how are you going to objectively measure those two?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't walk in thinking I'm about to sit down with Facebook, who got teams of accountants, lawyers, and everything, versus a mom and pop shop. And then what training and skill set is DED going to have to evaluate those small companies versus the ones they've always been used to dealing with?
Great question.
Exactly the questions, right? So far, I think that's why there's a lot of anxiety that's surrounding what's going on with them because of how they came at us in the beginning about the communication. I was assuming too that they probably had hundreds of companies out there that are for profit that they need to go through. I wondered when they said it, how are they gonna meet with everybody and still be passing out money by October?
Yeah, it's
You
about
know what I'm saying?
300 plus applications if you include the appendices.
Yeah,
Um,
and we're way down the line. I'm quite sure from everybody else who they trying to set up because they want the fast. They want I forgot the term they called it, but it was the low
the
hanging.
quick wins.
Yeah, the quick wins. We ain't a quick win, sucker. Where's that? It puts us we're way down the line. We got a 0 evaluation from Olsen. So I didn't, if they just started calling, I don't know if we're gonna get the call right away, but I'll definitely reach out to the representative of of that program. First of all, find out if that's where we should be, and then second of all, where's our interview at?
Yeah, I mean that's what Kimmer's saying. They said if apparently they said if you have not received your interview to reach out to them yourselves and to advocate for yourself. So yeah,
Wow.
definitely have to apparently fight, for these funds. Um, I do have another question, Senator McKinney. I think this is for you, if I'm not mistaken. This was kind of one element that you push as far as the innovation hub. It wasn't very clear. How does that whole process work? How does a project get designated as an iHub? How do you find those? What is that? What's going on with that?
So
I'm not laughing.
Senator Wayne, you got some input too?
No,
Oh, okay.
I'm waiting to hear this answer too.
Okay.
So as of now, there are 2 innovation hubs designated in North Omaha, which is against the law. But
Really?
DED does what they want.
Mm.
Because in the law, it never said that North Omaha couldn't have 2. but it said specifically they had to have 2 different focus areas. So they both couldn't be focused on business development and those type of things. But the 2 that I know of that got designated in North Omaha are focused on the same thing, essentially. I know they're still going through the process. I don't think they got any funding yet. I really don't know where they at in the process of anything.
See,
Last I knew, they were still trying to work through some stuff with DED to try to figure it out. But I do know, from what I understand, the one that got designated first, which is should be the one that gets the funding, um, because essentially the vision for the iHub was to put a place in North Omaha where if you're looking to get into business or in business and you need to get different connections to doing a business plan, to finding capital, insurance, balancing your books, whatever you need, you could go to Innovation Hub and get that assistance, because that's what they're doing across the country. In Atlanta, Indianapolis, everywhere else has an innovation hub, essentially, where people could go to start building their businesses and working on those ideas. And the other reason was to force collaboration in our community, because as we know, people don't like to work together, and that's always been a hindrance in North Omaha. That people don't work together, but they doing the same thing, and you splitting the dollar essentially. So in the bill, it says like you have to collaborate with people, and that was the reason why. And when DED designated 2, I asked him, I was like, 1, this is against the law, and 2, you're going away from the vision of this bill or this whole idea for innovation hub in my community. And I've asked multiple times, how did y'all do this? I still ain't got an answer.
And see, that was my confusion as far as reading, one of the grants. That's what kind of, made me feel like, oh, we can't apply for this grant because you had to be already partnered with the iHub. And I'm like, okay, so where are the iHubs? How do you even find out who the iHub is to even apply for this grant? Which again is wasting time because you only got a month to apply for the grant and you got to figure out all of this other stuff to even begin applying. How does that work?
MEH, he said he didn't get no response.
No response at all.
Okay. Well, yeah, I got more questions. So, anyway, man, what do you guys think the solution here? What's I know that you guys ain't just like, I know that you chilled this weekend, but you ain't chilling. What's the what's the move?
I mean,
I
we gotta put our best foot forward. We gotta apply. We gotta make sure we got things done because one, there's always more dollars every year. We just gotta figure out how we can point to a project that we need, like just like we did with Charles Drew and Malcolm X. Like there's still dollars, but if we don't put those projects forward and we just give up on the process, then this money's gonna go to downtown and Western Nebraska.
Yeah. Let me ask
Wait, before you jump in, what were you gonna say, Brother McKinney?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say also probably going to convene the committee to bring DED in front of us to answer a lot of these questions that we ain't getting.
Please. And if possible, let's have the media present. But I'm also wondering about the airport park because if I'm understanding, that's something separate. Like those funds are already set aside. Where are we at with that process? How is that looking? Have you been able to secure any other businesses interested in setting up shop there? What is that looking like?
There are a lot of conversations. There are a lot of businesses who are interested. We're talking to a pharmaceutical company. When I say we, people are talking to a pharmaceutical company who's trying to do some supply chain stuff. But really, what's slowing it down is this whole planning grant that we felt we didn't need to do. But now that it's going through, I mean, people can't make decisions until they're site control. People can't make decisions until they actually are the developer for the site. And so the chamber and OEDC were picked to do the planning grant separately. I heard they're now working together. So I don't know if we just wasted 200,000 there, but because I guess both of them got 200,000 to come up with different ideas, but now they're collaborating, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But but the way it's written, somebody else could apply for the overall 90 million outside of that once the planning guy's done. So yeah, I mean, I'm getting emails every day. I got a call today at 10 o'clock with a modular home manufacturer who's coming in saying, where can I build? How can we do this? And I know right now I'm probably going to have to direct them to Sarpy County, and they don't want to be in Sarpy County, but there's land available and it can move. I mean, right now the airport park is being a little stalled out. We're probably another two years away.
Really? And so what you're saying is that as a result, we're missing business opportunities for businesses to come in because it's stalled.
Yeah, it's about site control and about development. And when you go back to this original bill 1024, Lamp Rearson was hired by the chamber, OPPD, and I think the state, and they pretty much came out with a planning grant. Now things can be modified based on the end user, but they had an overall site plan, overall like details. And so I feel like we wasted another year, and I don't know what the end of it is. I mean, look, like I said this in the community meeting. This is the first time that we ever did this, right? Like I ain't talking about just Omaha. I'm talking about in the country where people were able to set aside funds at the state level to go into the heart of the most distressed areas. Congress has done it quite a bit, but somehow it always gets lost and never at the local level. And this is actually at the local level. So there's going to be some hiccups. And like I said, if I can go back now, and if there's anything future, I mean, we're going to spell out every line item of where dollars go, like we did with Charles Drew and Malcolm X. Like, we're not going to leave it to discretion. But you don't know until after you try. And so I said in the meeting, I'll take ownership of that. You know, I wrote the bill the best I could, but it's two of us. We can't think of every angle, every minute of what might be done. But now that we've walked through this process, any bill comes forward with me, or if I can have any influence on it, it's going to be specific. We're going to have to figure out how to name it in a way that it goes to whatever we want it to go to, that there's no discretion.
There you go.
Hear that. Learning process. Well, we appreciate that very much. I like kind of getting to the end of this with that thought too. That even though we were talking about this specific amount of money here, you guys have set up stuff where there's millions coming in every year. There's a lot of different funds and a lot of different things that happening as well. There's always money flowing through, and we can also use this as a learning experience on our end on how to be a part of the process here and tap in and be ready to tap in and put ourselves together and collaborate with other organizations to have a bigger thought and everything else that we're learning on here too. So Amy H. in the chat says the only solution is to advocate for self. If your app isn't approved or whatever, that legwork is done, and you can use that same information to apply for other funds.
Yeah. There's venture capitalists you can go for. There's banks you can, if you got a tight business plan, you should be able to take it to anywhere if you really want to get it financed.
Yeah. Last thought here. T-Ren in the chat is saying the 30-day application window is unserious and doesn't match the critical importance of this mass project. I definitely am worried about that 30-day window as well. When they started saying that they're gonna start passing out funds as early as October, I'm thinking I've seen all. There's hundreds of organizations out here. How are they gonna do that with the 8 people that I'm worried about that too. I think there's gonna be a whole lot of they got this figured out already, writing some things off and going for the low-hanging fruit. So that's going to leave a lot of people in trouble.
So I have mixed feelings on this, and this is that moment where people are going to get mad at Justin, but this has been 2 years. We've been talking about getting your projects right. Now, I understand they might throw a curveball with categories, but that should be a simple pivot. Your budget should have been done. Your things should have been done. If you're talking about doing construction, you should have already been down to the city for a pre-app and for planning and calling them and saying, okay, what permits do I need? Like, I'm not saying you don't have time, because I think in 30 days you can still pull that off if you wake up every day thinking about this. If you don't, then I mean, from a state perspective, if you ain't waking up every day trying to make this move, then I don't know if putting $30 million behind you is a smart thing either. So it's critical, but at the same time, we've been talking about this for 2 years.
True. I remember 2 years ago going to that original meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of the 30-day window thing last year. The Olsen process was what,
Right.
3 weeks, and we got backlash for that. I don't think there's a happy medium with any of it. You know, too short. People say they wasn't ready or didn't have time. Too long. It's like, why? I and on what Justin said. I mean, we've been working on this since 2021.
Yeah.
We've been holding meetings and talking about this since 2021. 2024 is around the corner. I mean, DED putting out the applications or just them putting out the applications, but the base of your plan or proposal should already been completed or revised. Especially if you applied to Olsen last year, you got that base evaluation. We've been saying all year, go back and look at your evaluation and update it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out what was wrong. You can't wait until they put out the application and start working on your plan again.
True. Can't deny that. There has been there was some plenty of time. There's there was plenty of time to get this thing going. So I can't deny that. I still hope that nothing gets falls through the cracks though in the 30-day span.
I mean, yeah, and understand what we're saying. I mean, we're saying some of it's on us, but don't that doesn't that doesn't mean that DED gets a free pass
Mm-hmm.
either. Like at the end of the day, you know, if a downtown project is picked, right, that's got to be because we've already exhausted all the North and South Omaha projects that were needed to be
Right.
funded. That's all I'm saying. Like I'm just saying we added more money, and let's just say 30% of the projects just don't make sense. Okay, then the money we added plus the projects that do, whatever's left over, okay, then we can spread that out. But like, don't go away from the intent of the bill being for North to South Omaha to feed downtown or to feed West Omaha.
No, and DD will never get a pass from me. They, like the Department of Punitive Services, are on my bad side right now. So
Agreed. Okay. Well, brothers. With that said,
Drop the mic.
yeah, the mic is dropped on that one for sure. For sure. Like Senator McKinney said earlier, it's dumb.
Man. I mean, let's just be honest. The math ain't mathing on a lot of this stuff. So I definitely, would like to see if you do move forward with that summoning of the DED before a panel. I would definitely, if we can get some media in there or get some kind of information from that, would definitely love to see that.
I'm still waiting on a couple people on a special committee to reply about their availability, but I want to try to do it probably towards the end of the month.
Okay, so soon. Also, Mama Guy's reminding us. She says last week, First Sky and Sins offered to do some additional info videos training. The boss even offered to assist. Are you still considering joining together to do that?
So this is one of them things where I keep going back and forth. Like I'll give you an example to the public. Paul had a conversation with me about, hey, what about you and McKinney being on an advisory board? I was like, hell no, they're gonna call that a conflict. Like even though we don't got anything to do with every day, so it's like I want to make sure nobody can point to something and saying Senator Wayne and Senator McKinney gave us the wrong information.
Right.
Like if DED has another interpretation, I got to be mindful of that. And the problem is we haven't had communication with DED, so I don't know what interpretations they have to even some of the questions we have.
And that's the reason why I didn't
So
pursue that idea that we had last week about that. Is the same thing. It's not the senators that need to be answering these questions. It's the DED.
Yep.
Yeah. So we would have set ourselves up for putting misinformation out there if we did that plan. So
if Senator Wayne says Senator McKinney, Paul told us to do this.
No.
and you already got some of that, so you already know what that is. So
Yeah, man.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate again, you guys go above and beyond your job to try to assist, and we appreciate that. We're not going to keep on bombarding you with questions every time that you come on the show with stuff that we know the DED needs to be answering at this point. So next week, hopefully we'll put some questions out there and have some discussions about some of the surrounding things that's going on for sure. and hopefully maybe we even be able to get in there and talk to somebody by that time. So
Yeah, hopefully.
other than that,
You know, one of the conversations I hope we could have down the road, man, is about OPS and particularly special education.
Mm.
Last Friday, the education committee had a hearing, and I had a young guy that I knew, and I had a guilty plea earlier that day, so I was already feeling some kind of way about the system in general, and then sitting there listening to the lack of, I think, planning for our school system. I think our community really needs to dig in, because I think anywhere else in the country, this would have already been a class action lawsuit, and some heads would have seriously rolled on where we're at with what's going on inside of some of these schools. And I think we deeply need to start educating and having a conversation with our community about what is going on at your school. And I mean, he told us. I'm just gonna give you a quick. He told us that when I say he, the chief operating officer, that there are 2 high schools that if a special education teacher leaves, just one leaves at either of those schools, those programs get shut down.
wow,
That's 500 to 600 kids that we might not be serving. And so, you know, the lack of planning, I feel like, and some things like that were brought out in that conversation. Uh, as much as I love 531, and that's, you know, everybody's gonna think 1024, 531 is my legacy. This right here is probably gonna have more effect on anything in North Omaha if we can't get these kids educated right.
Man,
yeah.
we actually do have a story lined up about the tax kind of standoff that's going on between the governor and the superintendents of schools across the state. As far as spending, it seems like there's not just OPS, but across the state, schools and school districts are struggling with funds. Is that something that's on your radar as well?
Oh, it is, and this was I kind of smiled because this is the conversation we were having last year about education funding. Is we just gonna give all these schools, school districts, more money and not require them to lower their levy?
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, "Oh, you know, they're gonna do so." And I'm like, government has never took more money from a government and say we're gonna shrink. It always grows, right? And so I think. Pillen and the administration, who, you know, being on the board of regents is not, in my opinion, not really politics. But now that they're in the political world of governor, I think they've realized that was probably a miscalculation. But from an OPS perspective, the district I represent, they've lowered their levy, and in fact, they're lowering their levy again by about a cent, a little bit under a cent, which is about 14 to 20 million. So everybody's talking about, you know, we taking money away. OPS continues to lower their levy, and then even if you look around us, Millard, Westside, I think even Ralston, but all of them have had special elections to do a levy override because they feel their students need more money, and OPS has never done that. And so, you know, why hasn't OPS gone out to the public and try to get more dollars for their kids? Yet everybody says it's doom and gloom that the state is taking money away and we're hurting public education, when our largest school district is saying we don't need more money. And I think that's a disconnect, and somebody's got to explain that to me, because if we can't hire teachers and we can't hire special ed teachers, what's the obstacles there? Is it the work environment? If it's the work environment, then it's going to cost some money. We're going to have smaller classes. We're going to have to, I mean, there's just, so why is that not happening, right? Like at the end of the day, why is the school board who's elected by us not pushing for that? So sorry to go past your 8:30.
No, you good. You good. I'm worried about y'all's time. We good. Brianna,
Terrell was texting me books during the hearing, talking about ask him this, ask him that. I was like, bro, I can't even mention these words right here, bro.
I was just gonna say I think we had talked to Brianna Full about coming on, and she's got a report and some things she wants to talk about. I think she'll be on Wednesday, so we'll definitely reserve some of these things for next Monday when you guys come through. We'll jump on this topic and move there. But before we get out of here, man, Brother McKinney, there's some. I mean, you know, don't worry about the time frame. There's some other things you want to throw out there.
I mean, it's a lot. That hearing and a couple other hearings make me wish I was still on the education committee. But I was interested. What was my quote on KTV? What did I
Yeah.
say?
Yeah.
Let me pull that back up real quick.
You said black power to the people. Nah.
It is dumb. It's dumb. Let me see let's see. Oh man, I got the wrong article up here. Let me grab it. KMTV and actually it was Miss Erica Felt, one of the chat chimers that said that if that you had a quote on there, and then if they would have just added the other 5 words you said, it would have been a different context. I've been trying to figure out what that is. But on the KMTV deal, if I can get to it. Mm,
I have it
sorry
here.
about that, y'all. You got it?
No, I have it here.
Okay, cool.
It says your quote is saying I think it's no, that's one person. He says they could have at least showed up to provide insight on the process and what would take place as far as the application process. Um,
Yeah, I didn't see a real misquote. I
quote
mean,
that's here.
I don't know.
Oh, he
I mean, I
says we're
probably
trying to
said
provide a
they was
little clarity to the
disrespectful.
community. Okay.
that didn't sound that bad. You said worse in
Yeah,
your
not
4
sure.
years.
No, I didn't.
Probably not.
Miss Erica Feld, if you can kind of give us
I
more
don't.
clarity on which quote you're talking about, can't seem to find it.
Well, brother McKinney, you read what they wrote, right?
No, I barely ever read those
Okay.
articles. But when you ask something that I think we should talk about more, I think one thing is the oversight of our DHHS and our prisons. Currently, we really don't got no oversight. So a lot of like the concerns and questions for kids in the child welfare system ain't being answered, and those incarcerated, I guarantee they got many questions ain't being answered. I went to OCC a few weeks ago, and it was just a bunch of questions about. Like I went to one unit, and dude literally had to put a trash bag on the roof because it was leaking on his bunk. They had mold and everything, but we don't got no inspector general ombudsman going inside right now because they were deemed unconstitutional and they're not letting them in right now. So
Man,
it's a lot of stuff to talk about.
Well,
man.
yeah, let's definitely get to it, man. Like I had that feeling today. Like we've hit a wall. I kind of had that feeling last week. We hit a little bit of a wall when it comes to
Yeah, and I could go all day about the education. Like OPS gets on my
mm,
nerves, man. Like, and really, it's because I work with majority of the kids that I work with go to schools in OPS. Also, coach at North, so I get a lot of insight from the kids and the teachers. So I know a lot of what's going on inside. So when I be talking to them, I'm like, you can't BS me. Like people always like to bring up, like, oh, you should be in the schools and work with kids in the schools. I'm like, I do. Like I hear the stories and it's not good. You talk to the parents, it's not good. It's a lot of stuff that ain't being addressed. You got classes right now in some high schools with 40 kids. How is somebody being
right.
taught?
And what bothered me is the day that they sent out this letter to their parents saying you can't, basically you either got to drop your students special education plan or we're going to have to move them to these three North Omaha schools. They were touted in the media saying that they had 100% hiring and they're ready for school, and there's articles out there where they're like, we're ready to go. We hired all the teachers we need to hire, and none of it was basically true. Like it was true for everybody else but North Omaha. And it's just like that's an area that I just, it's so big and so complicated, but at the end of the day, it ain't working for us.
Yeah.
And then like for like the teachers unions and stuff, they don't talk about like the shortages are in North Omaha and opening up new schools in West Omaha and teachers fleeing to West Omaha. Like people don't talk about that. Like they talk about all this, we love public schools and we love the kids and all this other crap. But honestly, you literally have an exodus of teachers going to West Omaha.
Yeah, I actually have a Nebraska Examiner article here talking about what's going on specifically with OPS. special education vacancies, and it says about 130 total special education classroom vacancies right now, which is definitely larger of an issue than I even um, was aware of.
I heard this morning a report of that one of their solutions is that they've just hooked up with some telehealth situation where they're gonna have kids get on online and speech therapy and everything else they're gonna try to do online with other teachers from other places. You heard about this?
So yeah, that we didn't even really dive into that on Friday, but they're so if you're doing any speech therapy, it's now going to be on iPads, and and there's multiple issues with that. If you have a student who has a frequency problem, maybe on the spectrum of autism, like there's just so many more complications that could happen from that. And I'm just saying, are we thinking through all these things? And I ain't look, I don't have all the answers. I know 753 isn't the silver bullet. Uh, I, I'm just at a point where I'm at a shotgun approach, man. We got to try everything
Mm.
because this ain't working right now. I mean, they admitted that they were still suspending kindergartners against the law. I mean, Terrell passed that bill, and they said they still. I mean,
It may
there
be.
are multiple things that we have got to have a conversation about, and if it's resources, and this is what I'm trying to tell people, if it's resources, we just put a billion point three, 1.3 billion in a downtown park between connecting downtown and the luminarium, and all of it's beautiful.
Hmm.
I'm not saying it's not. Omaha isn't a place where we have a lack of resources. We have a lack of will.
Mm.
Yeah. That's well said. That's what I keep coming back to every time I talk to you guys. Every time I read anything now, I'm realizing what I didn't realize last year that there's billions of dollars coming into Omaha, coming into Nebraska all the time. It seems like they're making a decision on where that money goes, and that's an act of will, not
Hmm.
resources.
And
So
too often it's not North Omaha.
yeah,
Yeah. You kind of brought something else up, Senator McKinney, that we follow closely here on the show, and just kind of tailed off as far as DHHS and the state's handling of child welfare cases, because we know, even if the schools are in tip top shape, if there's trouble at home, if the children are coming from an unstable home situation, they're still not going to be successful. Can you kind of speak? What is the state of DHHS? Do you know how they're handling the transfer of child welfare cases?
I mean, I know it hasn't been great. I know they still lose kids all the time.
What do you mean lose
I
kids?
know
What do you?
like it's kids that they don't know where they're at, literally. Um, what else? I mean, the caseloads are still high. Like it's a lot. Like it's a mess.
And so, like, then you go to the flip side. We have what's called public office of guardians, and that's for our elderly people who don't have somebody to watch them, take care of them.
Man,
Uh,
still searching for
that
gold.
that is. I think I just did a case. I got appointed. They have a waiting list of 5 to 6 months. So you got people literally who can't take care of themselves, that don't have people to take care of them. So the courts are appointing attorneys like me to say, hey, once a month, can you go check on them? Like they
What?
and just give us an update. So when people sit here, like I don't ever want to pass from the community. Hold me accountable. But I can't tell you the number of times that I've called Senator McKinney and been like, it's something else every day. Like you representing North Omaha, we have been neglected and abused for so long that 4, 8, 12 years, you can't figure it out. And the community demands change tomorrow. And if one person isn't in the Olson report, we doing some sneaky stuff, or we doing this and we doing that. And if we say, look, man, I don't know if tax credits are the way, but damn, let's try to give parents another option. We getting beat for that because you taking money away from public schools, and I'm pointing OPS says they got too much money. Like I'm confused on it. And every day and then Amy H just puts in OHA. Hell, Trell, we ain't even talked about that. Like, I mean, it's so much that I don't make an excuse, but it's the burden of a black politician in Nebraska is unlike anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, I mean, we have so many problems, and the reality is you can only solve so many of them, if any. Given just the systemic barriers. But you can only you only got two hands.
But unlike everywhere else, and this is what I guess the weight we carry, unlike everywhere else, Atlanta, Chicago, LA, Houston. You drive somewhere for 30 minutes, you find another pocket of North Omaha. You drive for another hour, you find another pocket of North Omaha. And it ain't 100,000, it's a million. Like we have one area that we can all get on that little bike downtown and get some drinks, and we can ride through it in 5 to 10 minutes. Like that's it.
Mm-hmm.
We go. This ain't 30-minute, 45-minute drive. We talking about one area that if we just aligned ourselves and said we're gonna put some resources, we could actually fundamentally change. And that's the burden that we carry, because it's right there. But trying to pull all these people together and figure it out, it's crazy. It's just something we wake up every day trying to figure out.
Then just don't. It's just so much stuff, and people be like, man, like, because you get the calls every day. It's a new issue every day, I swear.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, man, like one day it's juvenile justice, one day it's somebody mad at their landlord. It's a lot.
Uh-oh. Wait,
Lost with Senator McKinney. Okay.
Back.
Yep.
you back.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, like, it's just a lot of different issues, and we didn't even bring up the juvenile justice system. That's a mess. We got a juvenile jail downtown that can't be opened. They opening up different group homes around in North Omaha. Like, it's just, if we sat down, like, I really think like they be having these summits about North Omaha. Like, we need to sit down and really have a day full of each of these issues, and that's probably not enough, because it's a different strategy for each. Like, economic development is different, child welfare is different, juvenile justice is different, housing is different, criminal justice is different.
Man, you just said something about them summits. Everything that I ever go to, it's always a big like praise of everything that's gone well and done, and all the work we've done, and and all the success. I haven't been to one that's talking about the problems in any kind of real way. Like, I stopped going because I haven't. I feel like sometimes a waste of time to be sitting there just not talking about what's really the problem. What the problems are.
Like, I look back on like history, and I like look at like way back where they used to have like those big summits where like leaders would get together for like weeks and months and just strategize on how to attack, how to improve society. Like that's what we need in North Omaha. And really, as a Black community, like we need like a big, large summit to address all these issues and really strategize. We don't need to be on social media, nothing, because that's how bad it is.
Amy H. in the chat said, "What about North Omaha think tank locked in a specific topic with facilitators forcing collaboration?" It's funny you say that, because when we transitioned this show from trying to do kind of morning news into a discussion, we tossed that word around. We trying to bring that think tank in this situation a little bit. And now I'm seeing, there should really be like Brother McKinney's just saying, each topic is different. There should be a whole facilitation around a topic, and and leaders in North Omaha kind of get together and try to figure out some of these solutions and at least have conversations about it. We're having a very small scale thing on this show that we're trying to do, but it needs to be much larger scale to try to really come up with some strategies. So
I mean, I would say for the community though, next year is an election year, and in my opinion, anybody, no matter the office, there should be some paper or something with 10 things we need as a community, and ask all those candidates. And if I'm running, me too.
I like that.
Yeah, and that kind of goes along the lines.
Hold people accountable,
man. And that it goes right along the lines of Malik Rogers is saying, which is my thoughts exactly. He says, crazy how these senators telling us more about what is going on in Omaha public schools than our own elected school board members. Also says, honestly, telling us more than most of our appointed or elected officials in different areas. So I am kind of curious, like what conversations have you had or what coordination? Like, do you get the sense that you and say a Juanita Johnson, a councilwoman Juanita Johnson, are on the same page? Do you feel like a Chris Rogers or other individuals from Douglas County board, or how much coordination and real team work is being done on those different levels?
Not a lot.
Not a lot. So during COVID, before Johnny T's could open up, we had all the black elected officials meeting down in the bottom, just trying to strategize. But I can tell you, once COVID, well, not I don't say disappeared, but once everything kind of opened back up and social media started going again, like real issues came up, and the house got divided. Is the best way to say it. And when people hold a community forum saying what's going on with 1024 money, and we ask a simple question of what's going on with the city money, and my thing is I don't care if people hold me accountable, but just keep the same energy for all your own elected officers. Right. Like, so I don't know how you do it, and I think it comes back to what Senator McKinney did. We just don't have an overall arching vision of what do we want 24th Street to be. Right. And I ain't saying we have to lock it in and say this is what it is and it could be nothing else, but we have laundry mats next to businesses, next to single family homes, all on the same street. And I'm like, I don't know what that is.
What's it even zoned for? I don't even know.
Exactly. And so I know this conversation just took a weird turn, but I just want people to understand that now that we're going into September, now we got things like this is when we start talking about policy discussions and writing bills for next year. And it's just so much that we need y'all help to help us come up with ideas and sift through the madness, because every day we get a call about something else. I mean, every day it's something else.
I tell you what, first Sky Omaha is coming to a crossroads too. This is season 6. The topic of this season is Boost to the Roots. Season 7 is all about how we can take art and creation and make some change happen. And after season 7, we really are trying to search on where this thing is going to go next. It might not look like it's looking right now. And now you got my wheels turning on how we can evolve this platform to get to a point where we can have some more pointed discussions and take and not just discussions, but take some action, put some real action behind, put some real collaboration and action behind what needs to be done, and maybe help facilitate this idea of coming up with this master plan of what North Omaha can be and taking some steps. So keep your head spinning about that too, because we know that there's an evolution coming for us, and of course it's moving closer to some kind of help, some kind of better help for North Omaha, especially if help us come up with some more ideas on where we're going to go after that. So anyway, with that said, I appreciate the turn that the conversation went, man. I did kind of feel like a little earlier, like we didn't ask them all the 531 questions we got, man. Like they answered they said this stuff last week.
Yeah.
And then I realized, and then I realized it was on us that we keep on circling back to these things because everybody has so many questions. But we'll keep up with all that stuff with y'all. But you're right. There's definitely much more. Many more things going on. When I think about that you guys have worked really hard to get other dollars into North Omaha, and even in years to come, it kind of is like, okay, yeah, let's, that's happening too, but let's not circumvent all the other really important issues that you guys are also out there putting just as much energy and pushing and trying to make some difference too. So that's on us. And then when you guys come back next week, we can definitely jump into that stuff. We can definitely get to that stuff too, because it's even more important, especially when you're talking about the kids in school.
Man.
And the future of North Omaha. The future of North Omaha is going to be way past the $400 million that's coming in. It'll be way past that. It'll go on for years if we are leaving the kids hanging like that. So we'll definitely jump in, man. Appreciate that.
Well, I just want to throw out there that, OPS right now is sitting on rainy day fund, which means they got a cash bank account that they got extra money in of $185 million. $185 million.
And they had to let go special ed teachers. special ed programs?
All in North Omaha, 3 schools. And so, when people say we need resources, my question is how much?
Man, I didn't realize they were all three of them schools was in North Omaha.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
That's law. That's class action suit time. That's crazy, man.
Not to mention there's no transportation for them either. So these families have to now leave the community in order to get their students where they need to be.
But it's also
So now, under the law, OPS has to provide door to school back to door transportation, or they can pay a parent mileage to take their kid. So if y'all dropping y'all kids off and they're in special ed, y'all should be getting reimbursed for those mileage.
I mean, that's still time though. You know what I mean?
That's what a parent said, that the mileage don't matter if I lose my job because I'm late.
Right.
Especially if you got multiple kids and you got one still at the school and this other school.
Yeah, it made me mad now. Now I'm mad. They got money and resources, and they let three programs in North 3 schools.
I think OPS got what, $300 million in ARPA dollars or something like that.
Yes, they got a lot of money in ARPA dollars too, and that's what I'm just saying. Like when we did 1024 after Olson report came out, and y'all was calling us out, and everybody was calling us out, I said, "Damn, Terrell, we were too transparent. we should have just did what the city and OPS did, and just say, hey, here's what we did with the money. We should have just not even said nothing, because I haven't seen. Think about it. We ain't heard all of this conversation." And between the city of Omaha and Douglas County, they got $225 million.
Where'd it go?
You see what I'm saying? Like, but boy, y'all. I mean, not just y'all, but the community. They on our neck, and I'm like, damn, Terrell, we was just too honest. We was too open and transparent. We let everybody see grants. We let everybody sit there and compare to each other, and that might have been our mistake, because nobody else is asking these questions of OPS, who got 300 and something million. Nobody's asking the city of Omaha, who got 112 million, and Douglas County, who got 111 million.
Well, I hear what you're saying. I'm glad y'all did what you did, because everybody did need to look at this. I'm glad that you did have the transparency, even though I know it was a hardship on y'all to have it, because of the backlash. And no, there's still that underlining. We mad at we didn't know much about the other stuff because people weren't being transparent. But you get wind of it, you still know that there's all kinds of underneath stuff going on that you're mad at. You just don't know what even to be mad at. And I think you getting directed it to y'all because y'all have been so transparent. But when it's all said and done, we wouldn't even have known about that 225 million you just talked about if y'all hadn't came on and told us. So You know what I'm saying, like please don't undercut what it is. You guys have been the only people that and I'm sure that this is a lot out there. I'm not the kind of cat that's going to be sitting around reading legislative papers and stuff all day long. I need cats to come out and let's have a conversation about it. And I know that I'm not just the only one that feels that way. Like, there's a lot of different ways people communicate, and this has worked for us and worked for a whole lot of the chat chimers, a whole lot of the people that are listening to us, ghost listeners, have come up to me on the street saying, "Man, we ain't learned this much about nothing since ever."
And that's why we met with y'all. That's why we are trying to figure out ways to help y'all with funding, if anything is out there, because we recognize through this process we don't have an outlet. Like if we want to talk about a hearing coming up, we don't have the party sending out email blasts. We don't have social media. Like we just don't have those kind of things, and so we think it's critical. And no, I'm not saying I'm not going to be transparent. I was joking about it because I think that's the only way we're going to operate. I see people in chat, but for us, it was like, we got to have some kind of communication mechanism, because it's just too much, right? It's too big, too much, and nobody knows where to go, but everybody's frustrated. So we got to be able to help point them in the right direction.
Right. And hopefully we can help with that. That's what we're here for. So
appreciate you, brothers, man. We got 1 minute till 9 o'clock. We went all the way up to the end on this one. So appreciate that, though.
That's because Terrell's calling stuff dumb. got me going.
Hey, that's what I love about this, man.
Oh man,
we can say we want to say on it. That's what's up.
Hey, if it's not adding up, man, we got speak the truth.
I mean, this is what, like Prince used to say. There's one thing the Lord loves, and that's the truth.
Man, there you go. There you go.
Man, it's rough.
No.
Appreciate you, fellas.
Uh,
Y'all take it easy this week, man. We'll definitely get on some other stuff next week. As you can see, if the chat chimers that hung with us, we appreciate it, and you know what topics we're gonna be on next week.
Yeah,
So if
man.
you got any other questions about what's gonna happen with the DED and so on and so forth, and let's direct them to the DED. Let's keep a few here for the senators to answer, but we're gonna be on some different topics next week for sure because we leaving stuff by the wayside here by concentrating on this little bit of money coming in. I'm gonna call it a little bit right now because when I'm thinking in the grand scheme of what's gonna happen in North Omaha in the next 10 years, I believe that there's gonna be bigger and better opportunities. There's gonna be stuff that comes out of this, and let's not act like it's the end all be all.
Yeah, man.
If your business is depending on this money coming in, then you didn't have. I don't know if you had a business in the first place.
There you go. Like Amy H. Dot said, this is the opportunity to get your ducks in a row, period. If you want to be in business, if you want to change your life, then get the business plan in order, and you'll find funding.
Yep. Appreciate you, fellas. We'll get with you soon.
All right.
all right, y'all be easy.
All right, man.
Peace.
Peace.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen, right up until the end. Matter of fact, I appreciate you guys saying that. I see Gwen Easter saying this was a good show. Appreciate you, Miss Easter.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we missed you last Saturday. I can't wait to come in again on next Saturday for the content creators camp, and we'll talk about that more on Wednesday and have some more haps on Wednesday as well. Right now, we'll go ahead and get out of here. What you got some words for the people, buddy?
Yeah, man. As always, we did not get to all the stories, but we definitely appreciate everybody joining the conversation. I think this was definitely much needed. Hopefully, you all had questions that were answered, and even if you didn't have any questions, hopefully you can walk away with a little more information than you started with. So we definitely appreciate you for tuning in. All the chat chimers, all the ghost listeners, everybody tuned in that can hear my voice. We thank you. We appreciate you. We love you. As always, big shout out to the senators, the dynamic duo, man. Terrell Mckinney and Justin Wayne. Put some respect on their names. The senators, we appreciate them for always, taking the time and being transparent. It seems like everybody else echoes that sentiment. Mama God call it a paradigm shift, man. So hopefully, opening people's eyes to some things. So definitely looking forward to more conversation, more information, especially as we get closer to the legislative session coming up. As Senator Wayne just said, it's a good time to start thinking about what bills we want to draft up next. So this is a great time to have these conversations, get on top of things, gain an understanding, put together a vision, and we can move forward with that vision in mind. So teamwork still making the dream work. We're still following the money. We still got boots to the roots. All those things are still inactive. So we appreciate you, and let's keep it moving, man. Until next time, in the meantime, in between time, Paul B, take it away.
Yep. Pop says, as always, love the show. Great way to start off the week. I love having the senators on Monday instead of Friday. This starts the week off right. See y'all on Wednesday. Yeah, I feel the same way, Pops. Appreciate you. Also, Malik Rogers says a good topic would be discussing what the Nebraska Democrats and Republican Party are doing to support and champion their efforts. It's a good thing to get into. Miss Erica Fell says, great show. I'm going to listen again tonight when I can pay better attention. Thank you. Please drink water and be good to yourselves, everyone. Appreciate that very much. Glenn Easter says, also Malik Rogers says, too big of an opportunity in the world of politics for political party involvement not to be discussed. Election season is around the corner and voter numbers are low in Black Omaha.
Man,
can't forget that. It's going to be a big deal coming up. Election season coming up. Y'all want Trump back in? Let's gear up. I appreciate everybody that joined us right now. I want to give thanks to the Omaha tribe elders for allowing us to be on this land and speak while we're here. Thanks to our elders for allowing us to speak before them. And thanks to you, the chat chimers, allowing us to speak with you. Thank you so much for your input on this show. You guys are truly the co-hosts, and it really helps that we have the best chat in the world, the most efficient and most thought-provoking and intelligent chat in the world. You guys really add so much to this conversation. The conversation wouldn't be a conversation if it wasn't for y'all in the chat. So I really appreciate that. Also, shout out to the ghost listeners. I do run into you around town from time to time. I appreciate you guys paying attention and sharing the show and doing all those things that you do as well. And I know some of you chat chimers or some of you ghost listeners chime in when something is getting, something gets in your when you're irritated about something. Sometimes you'll jump on and contribute. So we appreciate you doing that as well. But we appreciate you listening too, and spreading the word. So please spread the word. We are trying to make some changes here over at First Sky Omaha with the training that we're doing. And as you heard me talk about it earlier, we're trying to make some transition happen over the next couple of seasons and get to where we can put some, get some real action items happening. So we really, really appreciate you, everybody that supports us, all the $10 people, the $25 people a month, the $50 people a month. If you have not signed up to be a reoccurring member or sponsor of the channel, please go to firstskyOmaha.com, hit the donate button, and become a supporter so that we can continue this and grow it in the way that we need to. And really appreciate everybody who's already doing that. Can't tell you how much we look at that like, man, that's real support there. We really appreciate that very much. So thank you so much for that. We're going to get out of here. We'll see you Wednesday. I do believe we're going to have special guest Brianna Full on Wednesday, if I remember correctly. And we'll continue to talk about these things and update you on the stuff that we find out about what's going on with the 531, 1024 money and everything else that we're talking about. So thank you again, and we appreciate you, and we'll see you soon. Take care of yourselves.
Peace.
By the way, Vanglorious, this is protected by the red, the black, and the green. At the crossroad, with the key.
By any means necessary.